So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and talk about Trevor Bauer getting DFA'd by the Dodgers. If you have no idea what DFA means, that is designated for assignment. That is different than being released. So the Dodgers now have 7 days to trade Trevor Bauer. Otherwise, he becomes a free agent, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Because I want to highlight this tweet right here. January 7th, 2021, 2 years ago today, Francisco Lindor was traded to the Mets in one of the biggest win-win trades I've ever seen. So we know that the Mets got superstar Francisco Lindor, and last year he was absolutely out of his mind with 26 home runs, insane defense. Carlos Carrasco was in that trade as well. Cookie had a 3.97 ERA and 152 strikeouts. He really held down that rotation when Scherzer and Jacob deGrom were injured last year, and in return, the Guardians got star young player Andres Gimenez, who was absolutely out of his mind last year, and Ahmed Rosario, who played better defense and had an almost 4.5 WAR. Again, a win-win trade. Now, staying on the subject of trades, I do want to show this real quick. A few videos ago, I talked about how Gregory Soto could be one of the players in baseball that gets moved in this offseason. Well, look at this right here. John Morosi is reporting that a deal is pretty close. The Phillies and the Tigers, Gregory Soto and Cody Clemens, they would be going to the Phillies, and then in return, the Tigers would be getting Nick Maton, Matt Bierling, and Donnie Sands. If that happens, we'll talk about that tomorrow, so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Shohei Ohtani has announced that he will be playing in the World Baseball Classic. It just reminds me when Shohei Ohtani was in Japan and hit a baseball through the roof at like 17, 18 years old or something crazy. Also, could you imagine this moment? Ohtani on Japan pitching against Mike Trout, his teammate, GOAT versus GOAT. That would be a lot of fun because both of these guys have already announced that, yes, they're going to be participating. These teams are stacked. All right, everyone, let's go ahead and talk about Trevor Bauer and the fact that his time in LA is officially done. So as you can see, it's official. The Dodgers will be eating $22.5 million for Trevor Bauer to either never play baseball again or play elsewhere. So let's say that Trevor Bauer does not get traded in the next 7 days. That means that he will be released and he can be a free agent and have the right to go anywhere that he wants. Whatever team picks him up, they're only going to have to pay him $720,000. If a team trades for him, that's an option as well, but in my little humble opinion, I don't think any team is going to trade for him, and honestly, I highly doubt that Trevor plays again, and that's where things get a little bit spicy in the comment section. There are 50% of people on Twitter that are saying Trevor should be able to play, and then the other 50% are saying that he should never be allowed to step on baseball fields ever again. So honestly, let me know your comments, but technically speaking, Trevor Bauer just became the best free agent in baseball. I only bring that up because it's a perfect segue to talk about the best remaining free agents at every single position, starting with the Kraken, Gary Sanchez. So we're going to talk about the best catcher and go all the way to the best relief pitcher. Is it Aroldis Chapman? Is it someone else? We'll talk about everyone. At first base, I'm going to go with Trey Mancini. Last year, he had a 101 OPS and a 319 on base percentage. But the thing about Trey, we all know he is a great guy off the field. Back in 2019, he had 38 doubles, 35 home runs, and a 134 OPS plus. And even in the first half with the Orioles last year, he was really good. So hopefully he bounces back. Let's talk about second base. Second base was a little weak. I'm going to go with Josh Harrison. He had 7 home runs and a 94 OPS plus. He's one of those guys that can play a lot of positions. He can hit first, he can hit last. Josh Harrison, he's just a nice guy to have on your roster. He's fun to watch. At third base, that is definitely not the player I wanted. Brian Anderson.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
I guess I'll say this. One fun fact about Brady Anderson, I know off the top of my head, he is the only player I think in history with a 50 home run, 20 stolen base season. He did that in 1996 when he was definitely eating a balanced breakfast. This is who I wanted to talk about. Brian Anderson, BA of the Miami Marlins, or at least formerly with the Marlins. Last year, he was not great whatsoever, but he still somehow managed a 311 on base percentage. We've seen in 2018 and 2019, he was an extra base machine. I mean, look at this. From 2018 to 2020, he had a combined 112 OPS plus while playing a ton of different positions. I would take a flyer on Brian Anderson. He's a good third baseman or outfielder, DH, whatever you want to use him as. A very interesting player, Elvis Andrus, at the ripe age of 34 years old, kind of broke out with the White Sox in the second half. He had 8 doubles, 9 home runs, 11 stolen bases, and a 116 OPS plus in 43 games. And if we take a look, he is 3 hits away from having 2,000 for his career. So if he can keep this up for another 5 or 6 years up into his early 40s, I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer, because he's not, but he could approach 2,700 hits hits. Jurickson Profar is probably the most talented player that we're going to talk about, at least in terms of best remaining free agents. He can play infield, he can play left field, right field. I really like his switch hitting capabilities. He had 15 home runs, a .331 on base percentage, solid defense. I think if you're a Padres fan, let me know if that's accurate. For center field, you could go with AJ Pollock. I mean, he wasn't very good last year, and that's just because he was injured quite often. But a few years ago, between 2020 and 2021, those 2 seasons combined, over 172 games, AJ Pollock was a monster. 36 doubles, 37 home runs, 11 stolen bases, and a 133 OPS plus. I'm hoping a team like the Guardians takes a flyer on AJ Pollock. I know that he just turned 35 years old, but in my opinion, having AJ Pollock in center field, he can still move a little bit. He's a much better option than Miles Straw, but that's just me. For my final outfielder, I was torn between Adam Duvall and Tommy Pham. I guess I went with Tommy Pham because he had 17 home runs, a few doubles. Like, he still has a little bit of gas left in the tank with that .312 on base percentage. The slugging wasn't very good. He had an 87 OPS plus. You could also go with Adam Duvall, or you could go with this guy. We're talking about DHs or outfielders. Andrew McCutchen had a 99 OPS plus with 17 home runs and almost .320 on base percentage. And then last but not least, the best remaining relief pitcher. I know that he was horrific last year, but still one of the best relief pitchers in the history of baseball, Aroldis Chapman. If someone can figure out his command, he's still nasty. Although over the last 2 years combined, even though he has a 3.79 ERA, he has an almost 6.5 walks per 9. Yeah, that's not good at all. And the last thing I want to talk about, Lewin Diaz. We've talked about him in a YouTube short because he was released like 4 or 5 times over the span of 1 month. Well, he was just picked up by one of the teams that released him. The Orioles, they dropped him a few weeks ago and they just added him back. I feel bad for this guy. If you made it to this far on the recap, I want to say thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. If you're brand new, hit that subscribe button. We talk about baseball every single day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.